Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. If you like coin collecting or just want to learn about valuable coins, you're in the right place. Today, we'll talk about 5 rare and expensive US quarters. Some are old, and some are recent, so you might even find one in your pocket. Let's kick things off with a very special coin. The 1976 bicentennial quarter is more than just a piece of currency, it's a commemorative artifact celebrating America's 200th birthday. Issued to honor the United States bicentennial, this special quarter stands out from regular Washington quarters with a bold historical design. While the obverse still features the familiar portrait of George Washington, the reverse showcases a unique and patriotic image, a colonial drummer accompanied by a torch encircled by 13 stars, representing the original 13 colonies. Instead of a standard date, these quarters are marked with 1776 to 1976, symbolizing 2 centuries of American independence. Although these quarters were minted in both 1975 and 1976, none are dated 1975, every single bicentennial quarter bears the dual date. This decision helped emphasize the special significance of the coin and ensured collectors could immediately identify it as part of the bicentennial series. The U.S. Mint produced over 1.6 billion bicentennial quarters, making them quite common in circulation. Most of them, especially those that have been used, are worth only their face value of 25 cents. However, coins in pristine condition, known as mint state or MS, can be worth considerably more. A quarter graded MS 65 or higher might sell for anywhere between $100 and $400 or even more, depending on its quality and market demand. There are 3 primary types of bicentennial quarters based on where they were minted. 1. No mint mark, Philadelphia. These are the most common and were produced at the Philadelphia Mint. 2. D mint mark, Denver, identified by a small d on the coin. These were minted in Denver. 3. S mint mark, San Francisco. These coins were made primarily for collectors. Some of them were struck in 40% silver and sold as part of special proof or uncirculated sets, making them significantly more valuable. In addition to mint state coins, error coins are highly prized by collectors. These are coins that have minting mistakes, and their rarity can drive up their value considerably. For example, a 1976 D double die obverse quarter, where the front design appears doubled, sold for an astonishing $8,400 in 2023. Other error types include clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is missing, and off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned. Such errors are usually visible to the naked eye and can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Collectors also keep an eye out for proof coins, which have a mirror-like finish and were struck using specially prepared dies. These were mainly produced at the San Francisco Mint and can be especially valuable if made of silver. To determine if your bicentennial quarter has extra value, check for signs like an S mint mark, silver content. A silver coin weighs around 5.75 grams versus 5.67 grams for a regular one, or noticeable errors or doubling. Even in your spare change, one of these hidden gems might be waiting to be discovered. Let's jump ahead to a more recent coin. The 2021 D Washington crossing the Delaware quarter is a fascinating piece of American coinage that blends historical significance with modern collectability. Released by the U.S. Mint in 2021, this quarter commemorates one of the most iconic events in U.S. history, George Washington leading his troops across the Delaware River during the Revolutionary War. This image captures the determination and leadership that helped shape the nation, and it has now been immortalized on a single-year coin design. On the obverse front, the coin features a close-up portrait of George Washington. While it remains consistent with the traditional imagery of Washington seen on quarters, this design is slightly different from the versions used during the America the Beautiful series. The reverse back of the coin showcases a dramatic depiction of Washington in a boat, sword in hand, surrounded by soldiers navigating icy waters. This bold design reflects both historical valor and artistic strength, making the coin stand out in modern circulation. It's important to note that this quarter is not part of the American Women Quarters program, which began in 2022 with the Maya Angelou coin. Instead, it served as a transitional release following the conclusion of the America the Beautiful series. Because of its brief issuance, only in 2021, it holds a unique position as a standalone design in U.S. Mint history. The D Mint mark indicates that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. With over 1.1 billion coins minted, the 2021 D quarter is very common in circulation. Most worn examples are only worth face value, 25 cents. However, the coin becomes more interesting from a collector's perspective when found in uncirculated or high-grade condition. For example, in 2024, a quarter graded MS-69, a nearly flawless coin, sold for $400. That's a remarkable jump from pocket change to significant value, all based on condition. Another exciting aspect for collectors is the presence of mint errors. These rare mistakes can drastically increase a coin's value. One of the most desirable is the double die obverse, where lettering or numbers on the front appear doubled. Though often subtle, this type of error can be worth up to $300, depending on its clarity. Collectors also watch for die chips, which appear as raised blobs of metal due to broken dies. These can be worth between $10 to $50, based on size and location. Even more striking is the misaligned die error, where one side of the coin is off-center or partially overlapped with another design. These visible flaws can fetch high premiums depending on severity. For those who think they've found a rare version, it's wise not to spend the coin. Use a magnifying glass to inspect it closely, and consider sharing detailed photos with online coin forums or sending it to a professional grading service. Let's take a look at one of the most important and meaningful coins in recent U.S. history, the 2022 P. Maya Angelou quarter. This coin isn't just a piece of money, it's a tribute to an inspiring American woman who made a powerful impact through her words, her strength, and her leadership. In 2022, the U.S. Mint launched the American Women Quarters program, a special series created to honor influential women in U.S. history. The first woman chosen for this series was Dr. Maya Angelou, a famous poet, author, and civil rights activist. Her writing touched millions, and she stood up for equality, justice, and human dignity throughout her life. The front of the coin, called the obverse, still features George Washington, but the portrait was updated to show a new angle of his face. It was designed by artist Laura Garden Fraser back in 1932 and finally used for this series. The back of the coin, the reverse, is where you'll find the beautiful image of Maya Angelou. She is shown with her arms lifted, as if in celebration, with a bird spreading its wings behind her and a rising sun. This design represents her spirit, creativity, and the powerful messages found in her poems, especially her famous work, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Now, let's talk about the value and collectability of the 2022 P quarter. The P Mint mark means it was made at the Philadelphia Mint, and millions were produced. Because of that, most of these coins are common and can still be found in your everyday change. If you have one that's been used and has somewhere on it, it's worth just 25 cents. But here's where things get interesting. If your Maya Angelou quarter looks shiny, clean, and untouched, it might be considered uncirculated. Uncirculated coins are ones that were never used in everyday transactions and still look brand new. These coins can be worth between $1 and $5, depending on how perfect they are. Collectors use a special system to grade the condition of coins. The scale goes up to 70, and the closer a coin is to that perfect score, the more valuable it becomes. Coins in MS-67 or MS-68 condition are more desirable and can sell for a few dollars, while MS-69 or MS-70 examples can be even more impressive, but very rare. Now, let's not forget about proof coins. These are specially made coins with a shiny, mirror-like finish. They aren't made for regular use but are sold to collectors in sets. Proof coins are struck multiple times with polished dies, which gives them a sharp, clean look with lots of detail. If you have a proof version of the Maya Angelou quarter, it could be worth more. There's also a silver proof version. This one looks very similar to the regular quarter but is made from 99.9% silver. It's heavier, shinier, and definitely more valuable. A silver-proof quarter in near-perfect condition, such as PR69 DCAM, which stands for Proof 69 Deep Cameo, can be worth around $20 or even more, depending on the market. Keep in mind, these values can go up over time. As the American Women Quarters program continues, more people are starting to collect the full set. That means early coins in the series, like the Maya Angelou quarter, may become more desirable in the future. Some collectors also look for error coins in this series. While there haven't been as many major errors found on the Maya Angelou quarter yet, it's always worth checking your coin for unusual features. Look closely for things like doubling in the letters or numbers, called a doubled die. Off-center strikes. Die cracks or chips. Missing details from worn-out dies. If you think you found something special, take a closer look with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. You can also compare your coin to photos of known errors online or ask for help from coin collecting communities. Now, let's take a step back to 1973. While this quarter isn't as famous as the 1976 bicentennial quarter, the 1973 Washington quarter still holds some hidden value, especially if you find one with a rare error. The basic design of this coin is the same one used for decades. On the front, or obverse, is a portrait of George Washington facing left, with the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the year, 1973. The back, or reverse, shows an eagle with wings spread wide, sitting on a bundle of arrows, with olive branches beneath it. This design was used from 1932 until 1998. In 1973, the U.S. Mint produced quarters at 3 locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If your coin has no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia. Denver minted coins have a small D on the front, and San Francisco coins have an S and were made for proof sets, mostly for collectors. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 346 million quarters in 1973, so finding a regular one without a mint mark is very common. In most cases, if your 1973 quarter has been used and has some wear, it's worth just 25 cents. But here's where things get interesting. Some 1973 quarters have rare errors, and these are the ones collectors are willing to pay big money for. One of the most well-known and valuable errors for this year is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank coin, called a planchet, is not placed correctly into the coin stamping machine. As a result, the design ends up being printed off to one side, and part of the coin's surface is left blank. These errors are easy to spot and look quite different from normal coins. Depending on how far off-center the design is, the value of the coin can go up. If the design is just slightly off-center, maybe 5% or 10%, the coin might be worth around $20 to $50. But if it's 20% to 40% off-center, you could be looking at a coin worth $50 to $100. When the error is even more extreme, like 50% or more off-center, with large blank areas and the date still visible, the value can go up to $200 or more. The date being visible is very important for collectors because it helps them verify the year of the coin. An off-center coin without the date may still be valuable, but usually not as much. Some 1973 quarters also have other types of errors, like clipped planchets, which means a piece of the coin is missing due to a mistake during the cutting process. These can also be worth between $30 and $100, depending on the size and shape of the clip. Another rare mistake is when a quarter is struck on the wrong type of metal blank, like one meant for a dime or nickel. These wrong planchet errors are extremely rare but can sell for hundreds of dollars. There are also die cracks or die chips, which happen when the stamping tool starts to wear out or break. This creates raised lines or lumps on the coin, and depending on how big or noticeable they are, the coin's value can go up. Even without errors, a 1973 quarter in perfect, uncirculated condition, called mint state, can be worth more than face value. A coin graded MS65 or better could be worth $10 to $25, especially if it has a clean, shiny surface and no scratches or wear. These coins are usually found in old rolls, mint sets, or special collector's boxes. To check if your 1973 quarter might be valuable, look closely at both sides. Use a magnifying glass if you can, and check for signs of doubling, missing parts, or anything that looks strange. Weighing your coin can also help. A regular quarter should weigh around 5.67 grams. If it's much lighter or heavier, it could be an error coin. You can also compare your coin to photos online or visit a local coin dealer for help. While most 1973 Washington quarters are common, some with rare errors, especially off-center strikes, can be worth real money to collectors. Let's now talk about the 1971 Washington quarter, particularly the version without a mint mark. This coin might not stand out at first, but it has some interesting features and can be worth more than you think, especially if you find one in exceptional condition or with a rare error. The 1971 Washington quarter was part of the regular series of quarters minted from 1932 until 1998, showing George Washington's portrait on the front, the obverse, and an eagle on the back, the reverse. The 1971 quarter was produced in large numbers at 3 different mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. However, if you have a 1971 quarter with no mint mark, that means it was minted in Philadelphia, since coins made there during this time didn't have a mint mark. In 1971, the Philadelphia Mint produced a huge number of quarters, over 250 million. So, finding a standard, circulated 1971 no mint mark quarter is quite common, and in general, it would only be worth its face value of 25 cents unless it's in great condition. However, the 1971 no mint mark Washington quarter can still be valuable if it is in uncirculated condition. Uncirculated coins are those that have never been used in regular circulation and still look brand new. If you find one that looks shiny and detailed with no wear or scratches, it could be worth $2 to $5 or more, depending on how pristine it is. If it's graded as MS-65 or higher, it could fetch a higher price of $10 to $20. These are coins that collectors love because they look like they were just made and have that fresh mint luster. But what really excites collectors are the error coins. These mistakes happen during the minting process, and they can make a coin much more valuable. One of the most sought-after errors on the 1971 Washington quarter is the doubled die. This happens when the coin dies, the metal stamps used to strike the coin, are misaligned, causing the design to be stamped more than once. On a doubled die quarter, you'll notice that the lettering, like Liberty or In God We Trust, appears doubled, like a shadow effect. This type of error can increase the coin's value significantly, sometimes worth $100 or more depending on how noticeable the doubling is. Another common error is the off-center strike, where the design is not fully centered on the coin. This causes part of the coin to be blank. Depending on how off-center the strike is, these can be worth anywhere from $50 to $200 or more. The more extreme the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin becomes. Lastly, there are clipped planchet errors, which occur when the metal strip that's cut into coins isn't properly aligned. This results in part of the coin being missing. These errors can also make a 1971 quarter more valuable, often fetching between $30 and $100 or more, depending on the size of the clip. So, there you have it, 5 ultra-rare and valuable US quarters that could be hiding in your coin jar or loose change. Whether it's a bicentennial quarter with a minting error or a modern coin featuring Maya Angelou, these coins offer a glimpse into the rich history and craftsmanship of US coinage. Remember, the value of a coin is largely determined by its condition and any unique features or errors it may have. If you think you found a rare coin, consider having it professionally graded to determine its true value. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.